an MPhil and a PhD from the Center for Economic Studies and Planning, JNU, New Delhi. His areas of specialization include public economics, macroeconomic policy, and development economics. His research spans public finance, fiscal governance, economics of aging, gender, and climate finance, combining strong theoretical and empirical insights. With such an impressive academic journey, we are truly honored to have Sir as our resource person. I now request Dr. Nanish to kindly take over and share his valuable insights. Over to you, sir.
All right, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope I am audible and visible. Can someone please confirm? Am I audible?
Yes,
all right,
yes,
I want to present. So is it okay? Okay, just check whether my screen is also visible. Is my screen visible to you?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, fine. Before I move to the presentations, thank you so much for inviting me to this workshop. I also would like to congratulate your Arthashod for your magazine, the Yellow Writer. Congratulations to the team work behind this magazine. Initially, I thought of just like, when Priyanka ma'am invited offered this. So I was just skeptical about what really I'm going to speak about. Then Priyanka only has given me the idea that I have to brief about how to structure a research paper. All right. So with the disclaimer that you all are fourth year honors students and you have already chosen the topic and it's a time for you guys to structure the paper. All right. So I may not go deeper into make you understand how to choose a topic or how to frame the problem, research problem, and all these. So I'll be concentrating more on how to structure the paper, thinking that as you have already done your research part. Okay. So I'll start with some disclaimer. First of all, there may be some interruptions in between. So I'll resume back in case if there is any network shortage with Aryan. So I'll resume back maybe in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So hold on. Second, I have used AI for making my PPT. PPT is just a supplementary. What I'm saying is very important. Third, I didn't go through rigorous preparations for this thing. I do believe that what I'm doing is research, addition to teaching. So what I'm going to explain is my experiences. So I started my research journey in 2013 along with Priyanka. She was my classmate. And I'm constantly writing in various forms. So I'm going to explain my experiences only. How do we structure? All right. If I'm just saying that what I'm presenting here is the final word of how you guys should structure your research paper, that will be wrong, because most of the time you have to structure your research paper based on the requirements of the journal. Okay. So journals will give very clear indications that how it should appear in the journal once it is accepted. So sometimes, most of the time, they will give you the demarcations how it should be, what all are the major subheadings it should contain. All right. Otherwise, what I'm presenting is a very usual, a very common form of structuring a research paper. Before I navigate to the research paper structuring, I would like to introduce this thing. You might be knowing about Economic and Political Weekly, EPW. All right. So I hope this slide is also visible to you. EPW is visible.
Yes, sir.
Is visible to you? All right. Okay. So if you move to, then you can see that their abstract, how it should be. They have written very clearly 150 to 200 words. Then they have written about various categories of submissions. Start with how the letters should be framed, how the commentary should be framed, how the book review is all about, how the insight should be framed, and how the perspective should look like, how a special article should look like, how it should be the notes when you frame it, how the discussion should go in. So they have given clear indications how each should be framed and what should be the word limit and all these things. Maybe if you look at this category, I have taken up EPW because this is a very popular magazine, journal in fact. Most of the economics and political science students, they do constantly refer this all, and it's well known. So that's why I have taken up this. If look at this section, say for example, special articles, the second in the section, word limit is 7,000. It's talking about unpublished research papers. So I may be concentrating on how do we focus on, how do we frame this this particular section, okay, research paper. The standard word limit here EPW is requesting is 7,000 words, all right. So how do we going to navigate? So maybe this is what we are going to cover today. So I'll start with how do we frame the introduction, move into the literature, then how do we frame the research question and objectives, hypothesis, then the major part of data and methodology, then the last parts of findings, discussions, conclusion, and references. So I will touch upon all these aspects, and it's a workshop. It's not going to be a 2 hours speech about how you guys have to structure your paper. So maybe half of the time I may spend to make you understand what all are these, how do we frame it. Maybe the remaining time we can spend for clarifying your doubts and maybe a fair discussion that makes more sense. If you have topics, as Priyanka said, you all have topics. So it will be better you can bring your topics and maybe we can just have a discussion on all these. All right, I hope that's fine. Then moving to the title page, the formal facade, how you guys will be framing your title page. What is the relevance of a title page? Do we need a title page when you frame your research paper? I believe all your research papers, once framed, will be going for a publication. All right. So I'm keeping that as a note. So in that case, title page is very important. Sometimes you may have to have 2 manuscripts you will be submitting. Maybe only the title page you might be submitting. Apart from that, you also have to submit your manuscript. We call it manuscript without any of your identifications in it. Meaning that without any name of the author and the institutional affiliations. This is mostly for a blind peer review. All standard journals will go through, journal do this procedure of blind peer review, meaning that you have to submit your manuscript without your author's name, without the name of the author and the institutional affiliations. So a title page will look like you will be clearly writing your title with the author affiliations and everything. Okay, it's relevant by journals say it very clearly. Apart from that, we will start with this very important thing, abstract. Do we need to write the abstract as it appears immediately after the front page? Do we need to write the abstract in the beginning? I do say no, absolutely no. You cannot write the abstract in the beginning itself. You have to write the abstract at the last. Why? Because if you look at the structure, the formal structure of an abstract, it will contain 20% of the context and hypothesis you are taking up for your study, and bulk of the part of abstract will contain method and results, because it's equally cover 30% and 30%, and the remaining 20% of your abstract should contain the discussions and the implications of your research. So it is technically not possible. You will be writing the abstract, then you will be completing your research paper. So better you complete all your research paper, research manuscript, including your conclusion parts and results and references. Maybe at the end you will be writing your abstracts. Okay, so keep this point in mind. You have to frame it at the last. Then where you should concentrate on. Most of the time, abstract should have a word limit. A standard abstract will contain around 150 to 250 words. Sometimes the journal will give clear indication how much word limit they should follow. All right. Some may ask for 100, 150. Some may ask for in between, say 200 to 250, like that. So you can follow the guidelines as per the journal instructions. Otherwise, the standard size is 150 to 250. All right. Then it should be very brief. Understand. Better you follow this thing. So many of the time, what happened is that the students are. I'm focusing here on the students, not on the research scholars, as you all are students. What they do is that they are so ambitiously write the context in detail. What we are expecting is that context can be limited in maybe of 1 line or 2 line. Then you should focus more on the method you followed and what result you have generated. The first line of abstract should generate also the curiosity. You should give the fair context or a background of your study. So abstract writing is a task, actually. I do say that, to be very honest, most of the people do not read the entire manuscript or the entire research paper. 98% of the people will read the abstract. So abstract will generate the curiosity among the readers whether we should really go through the research paper or not. So abstract writing, I do believe, as most difficult task. All right. So how to concise it? At the end of the research, you will have a fair understanding of the topic you have chosen, and you will be bombarded with a lot of information, lot of data you have derived, lot of results you have come up with. Then how do you going to really structure it in a very concise and precise way? I do believe there comes the task or the talent of a researcher. All right. You may feel that you can extend the abstract in such a way that you can write about 500 words or 1,000 words, but how do you limit it? If somebody is asking you, what is your research? You may have to explain maybe in 3 line or 4 line what exactly this abstract is all about then. All right. So I have given the key insights, complete it at the last. It is a final schematic overview of the fully constructed research paper. So this is very important. Then you may think that, like, most of the journal, when they call for, or maybe some conferences they call for, they do ask for abstract submissions. All right. So sometimes most of the conferences, when they call for abstracts, they mean actually the extended abstracts. The idea is that, like, you have already completed the paper or completed the research, then extended abstract may span around 1,000 words. Okay, keep that in mind. Moving to the introduction. What exactly do we need to write in the introduction? Is it all about the background? Is it all about the background? For example, you are writing about a question. Is inequality an inherited concept? Is inequality can be inherited? It's a question. It's a research question. Can inequality be inherited? So what should be the introduction? Are you really writing about, say, Indian context? Are you writing about inequality in detail, all the background? So what exactly the introduction all about? So I will say introduction can be in this format. It can showcase the disciplinary knowledge. That means a fair background, summaries of current practices, histories or theories, get the audience up to speed. Understand the means audience should understand, meaning the reader should get some fair understanding of the background. Apart from that, you also should give some kind of a gap existing. Points out the puzzle not yet understood or a controversy in current scholarship. States the research question very clearly. So in the introduction also, once you start writing the background, then pinpointing some gaps in the existing literature or existing studies, then you have to pinpoint that. Then you have to mention very clearly what your study is specifically all about. So this is the last part. Briefly explain how this specific study will fill the gap, stating the principal results, conclusions, and overall values. So this all should go in nutshell. It's not in elaborate, because even this gap I'm talking about, a detailed literature review can be included in the research. All right. So that will come as a second part. So here you just need to bring the specific gaps in nutshell. All right. So, and again, introduction is very important. It should clearly state, or identifying the problem is very much important. Does it tell the reader why you are discussing it? Does it establish why the audience should listen? So all these three questions should be answered in the introductory part. Otherwise, somebody who is reading your research paper may feel that nothing is clear after reading even introduction. That will fairly constitute around 15 to 20% of your entire research paper. So even after reading that much, not getting any idea, then people may not read further. So introduction should contain fairly this much of idea. For example, if you're writing about inequality, you will be giving a global context of inequality in the beginning and moving down to Indian context and understanding the specific question you are trying to discuss about, and which if it's not discussed in any of the existing literature, state that very clearly. There are so many studies being conducted about inequality in India, but there is no study being conducted particularly about the question, can inequality be inherited? So what the specific study talking about? We are understanding whether inequality is inherited in India. If it's inherited, how much? Then this is what the study all about. Then bring it in nutshell what exactly the importance of this study maybe. All right. So that will fairly constitute the introductory part. So that should generate a curiosity among the readers. All right. I hope this much is clear to you guys. Then if we move further, then this comes the most important thing, literature review. In fact, I'm not going back to your research methodology classes. So I hope you have already started. You have started your research and you already done your research. So there is no point I'm going back and saying about what is literature review and all these things. But here I will focus on how do you include literature review in your paper. That is more important. In fact, the entire research is starting from literature review. You have to do a fair literature review. Generally, you will be generating a question. Generally, from there you will be moving to the research problem and framing your hypothesis and everything. Then in this part, immediately after the introduction, you will be putting the subsection that is literature review. That's about building the foundation. Here, if you remember, here we have mentioned the gap in nutshell in introduction. All right. Then in this particular section, you have to go in detail. The literature review you will be presenting in detail. Okay. Then what exactly this literature review? How do you will be presenting the literature review in the paper? Is it all about so and so person in bracket, say in the particular year 2016 has written about this paper and he has concluded this way. Then the next paragraph, so and so another person has written this particular study and concluded in this way. So is it in that paragraph form one after another? Say for example, say 60 studies you have conducted, all the 60 you are listing out? Is it something like that? Or maybe many of the students come to us and say that teachers, they to say that like, sir, I have reviewed say 50 literature they have reviewed. So do we need to include all the 50 in it? Or is it an indicator that like, you have to read say so many literature, then that makes your study so good? So in fact, I do say it is not just about so many literature you reviewed. It is all about how you synthesize all these literature you have reviewed. That is more important. Say for example, 50 literature you have reviewed about inequality and can inequality be inherited, that particular topic, then you should be able to fairly categorize those 50 literature into 5 sub-themes. It is impossible to include all 50 literature into your research paper. Sometimes you have to, for example, a work by somebody, say for example, Professor Vamshi has written about inequality, or Professor Utsa Patnaik has written about inequality and poverty, but these two papers are of similar theme. Then you have to identify the common themes on this particular topic you are researching on. Your literature review should be presented in such a way that you can bring, say for example, 4 or 5 sub-themes, and you can categorize your literature review into these all 4 or 5 sub-themes, and then you will be listing out. Okay, and again, what all can be the literature review? That again, your research methodology paper. It can be the historical context. It can be existing definitions. It can be some contradictions you will be bringing. It can be some relevant theories you are bringing. So, literature review. Sometimes some papers may not have literature review as a heading. It may be part of introduction sometimes, or it may be part of theoretical framework sometimes, or it will automatically come in the discussions part sometimes. Okay, so it's up to the question or the research topic you are carrying out. It's depending upon the problem you are discussing in your research. All right, but a standard research paper will carry something called a literature review subsection, but it is not mandatory. I'm saying it very clear. It is not mandatory. Every research paper should have a literature review as a subsection, but it can be part of introduction. It can be part of theoretical foundations. It can also be part of discussion. So it will cover automatically the existing studies been already carrying out, rather discussing specifically as a subheading literature review. I hope it's clear. I'm saying it very clearly, as you guys are students of last year of economics. Literature review, in the name of literature review, don't copy paste the abstract of some other published paper. That is not the literature review. That won't qualify to be the literature review. Okay, so what most of the people do is that for saving time, so teachers may say that you cover at least 50 literatures or 60 literature or 100 literatures. It's difficult actually to go through all the 100. It may take a lot of time, but they may give only fair time of say 1 month. It's difficult. What they do is that they read only the abstract, and we have AI tools also to summarize it, but that won't really help you. Okay, more than the summary, you should understand sometimes your literature will qualify maybe the method they have used to study. Okay, maybe some nuances they should bring in. You should able to, in order to classify this into 4 to 5 categories, you do not need to mention all the research work sometimes. For example, a particular aspect is common in 6 research papers you have reviewed, then you may have to write only 1 line in concise of all the 6. Then you can put all the authors in index citations. All right. So I will show you a sample paper maybe at the end of the session. So I hope this is clear to you guys. I'm reiterating the fact that it is not on quantity, how many numbers of research papers you have reviewed. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but it's the quality. For example, you have brought something, a very, very new research topic, very new topic. In fact, you have reviewed a lot relating to the topic, but you couldn't find relevant literature available. Then what you do it? For example, if you study about inequality, there are a lot of research papers available, but you bring some topics of something very new, then you may not have much of literature to be available. All right. So then how do you include? So that's what I said. It's not mandatory sometimes in journals that you have to have a literature review subsection as such. It can be part of introduction. Sometimes it can be part of theoretical foundation. Sometimes it can be part of the discussions. All right, we'll go to it. So you may have to adopt a short, focused reviews that directly relate to your study and highlight contradictions or connections. Again, when you write a literature review, it is not just about saying that there are a lot of literature available, there are a lot of studies being done. In fact, you are structuring your literature review 3 or 4 subsections. Then you also should have a reflection at the last saying that these so and so topics already been covered, but this particular aspect is not discussed yet. That should be the end of your literature review. I hope it's clear. It is to highlight what not studied. These are so popular things being studied, and it's all leaving some particular flows, some particular aspects which is not being discussed. Exactly the idea of research gap you are throwing in your literature review. I hope that part is clear to you guys. Moving further, you will reach to something called research question and objectives. So if I am going back, somewhere here we have discussed this thing, research gap. And you also will be talking about something here. What is the question your specific study in the introductory part? Here you will be bringing that in detail, research question and objective. you have given a fair context and understanding of the study, that is the introduction. Then you move on to a literature review in detail, and at the end of the literature review, the last paragraph says it very clear, so and so study has been done, but this particular aspect is not studied. From there comes the question. You are raising the question. This is not studied, this particular question you will be bringing. Then understand, you may have multiple questions sometimes, all right? Question typology, if you discuss, research always carries something called a primary research question or master question. Apart from that, research question can also carry secondary questions or micro questions, all right? So the central driver of your entire research is the primary question. Connecting to primary question, say for example, primary question is actually a very broad and general focused question, okay? But if you want to answer that primary question, you may have to ask secondary questions. That is actually subordinate questions, asking to some specific dimensions or some particular nuances of connecting to the first question. Those questions we call it secondary questions. So just keep this in mind. Sometimes research question can be, say for example, question number 1, it may have 1A, 1B like that, sub questions. All right. Then comes the objectives. A standard research paper may have minimum of 2 to 3 research objectives. So keep that in mind. Then, can any statement qualify to be a research objective? Then there comes this particular part, SMART dial. What exactly the SMART dial, SMART, indicates. So S indicates specific, M indicates measurable, A indicates achievable, and R indicates realistic, and T indicates time bound. This is just one framework that you might have studied this in your research methodology paper, how to frame research objectives. So research objectives should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be achievable, it should be realistic. Sometimes you also have to have a time bound in your research objective. Okay, you can include 2 or 3 research objectives. Maybe a standard paper can carry only 2 or 3 objectives in it. Okay, so make sure that it follows this SMART dial. All right. So I hope that part also clear to you guys. Then comes, if you have any questions in between, you are free to pose, meaning to, like, you can ask in between, okay? If any part need to be discussed further, all right? Because I'm not able to see you guys, I'm just moving on to my screen. Okay, so this is exactly the one I have explained already. Your primary question, connecting to that there will be some secondary questions. Then when you frame your research objective, make sure that you frame your objectives in such a way that you will be getting a final answer to your primary question. All right. For example, I have seen this kind of research papers which comes up with the students. They may have a fundamental research question, a primary research question, but their objectives are not at all relating to the question. Okay. The idea is that the question is the driver of entire research. You are trying to answer the question, but objectives will give you the indications and directions. Okay, so once you go through all these objectives, then you should be able to answer the question. Then framing your research objective is very important, as you have already done your research and you are at the stage of writing. So I don't need to reiterate it again that, like, how to write your objective, but objective is something you will be framing in the beginning after the question and the sub questions. Then again, based on the question and the objectives, you are designing your method or methodology or a design of your research. Mm-hmm. All right. So I hope this is clear to you guys. Okay. So your objectives, maybe you are framing 2 or 3 objectives, and objectives should be measurable and achievable. Then only you will be able to reach to the final question you have already posed at the end of the introduction or at the end of the literature, and you have specified it in one section. I hope this is clear to you guys. Moving further, hypothesis. Is it mandatory every research should have a hypothesis? Not really. Not mandatory. In all the research papers should have a hypothesis or hypothesis testing. Not required. But most of the research papers in economics, empirical papers, they do go for hypothesis in it. Hypotheses are predictable. It's not just about your intuitions you are making it in the form of hypothesis. These are actually something you are already gone through the literature review. You have read about those aspects in detail, then you will be framing the hypothesis. So it should have the assumptions and the causal mechanisms. So you will understand this thing if you have done a fair literature review. Then you can make the hypothesis better. All right. It is, again, I'm saying it is not just a random thoughts you bring it as a hypothesis. A valid hypothesis must be verifiable or provably false. That's one. So the idea is all about, and again reiterating, every research may not have hypothesis sometimes, but empirical research may have it. So this is, you are making an assumption that, like, this may be the possible direction. But what happens most of the time is that students sometimes make hypothesis, then they try to drive the entire research into make the hypothesis true. Okay, so that kind of bias sometimes happens. Okay, it shouldn't be in that way. All right. So maybe your research guide can help you how to frame hypothesis and how to navigate further. Okay, so fairly a research, when you structure the research paper, after introduction, then the literature will come, then the research question and the objectives will arise, then you can fit your hypothesis afterwards, if at all required. Moving further, this is a very crucial part, data and methodology. Why we need to have this particular section? Is this particular section of research paper framing important? In fact, if you remember, when we go back to your abstract, 30% is method. 30% is method. It talks about briefly explain the project, specifically noting participants, design, measures, and procedures. So this part is very important. Most of the research papers, when we all send for publications, it gets rejected, or decision mostly comes up based on data and methodology. Okay, I have written one more thing here: the replicability standard. If someone else is also carrying out the same research based on the information you have provided here, will they get the same result? That matters. All right. So here you should write your data and methodology in such a way that what are procedures you have done. All right. For example, your research is based on primary survey. How you have conducted the primary survey. What all variables you have focused on. What all were their participants. What kind of age group you have chosen. What particular time period it's all about. Okay, if it's a secondary data, then what all variables you have chosen, and all these things should come in it. And the design, whether your study is experiment or a survey or interview or completely an econometric method. So the design of this part actually is your research design. So that should, in elaborate, you will be writing. And the measures, what are the tools of observation you have used? What are the various parameters or variables you will be using? And the procedures, exact chronological sequence. It will be applicable in the case of purely quantitative empirical research you are carrying out. You are using, say, for example, one particular model. So, for example, structural equation model you are using, or ARDL model you are using. So you will be mentioning all these procedures you have gone through. Okay, so that part is data and methodology. That's very important. That exactly the design. Okay, so I do believe if you just started your research, you all started your research, have a question in your mind or objective in your mind, this much should be clear. This much should be very clear. These all things are actually coming before you really do the research, before you entering into the field of research, meaning if it's a field work or if it's a quantitative study and all these things. This much should be very clear. You will be completing a fair literature review. You will be having a fair research question with you, and research objective should be clearly framed. It should be measurable. Say, for example, it shouldn't be in such a way that just to understand, you don't need to do much of research. It is maybe to analyze, to examine the relation between or something like that. All right. Then we can have the hypothesis. Then also you should be clear about your data and methodology part. This much is very important. This much actually gives a very good impression. Somebody who is reading your research, because this much generate the curiosity. They will decide whether we need to further read, because the next part comes the findings and the results part is absolutely based on this much you have written. I hope this much is clear to you guys. Before we move further, I got some message from your organizer that we may take a 5 to 10 minutes of break. So is it fine?
Thank you, sir. Now we will be taking a short break of 5 minutes, and all the participants are requested to switch on their cameras so that we can take the geotagged photos as well as the attendance. And also, all the participants are requested to not leave the meeting, as we will begin with the session in just 5 minutes.
Format. Generally, we do not write literature reviews in table format. But I have seen those kind of papers which get published as well. Sometimes they just, you might be knowing this mind map, the branching out, the concept map kind of thing. So these days, what we could see is that, this kind of concept maps also include in the literature review part sometimes. Okay. But the standard process is all about, you will be grouping your literature into various sub-themes, then you will be presenting it. That has more acceptability. In fact, I have seen most of the research papers for getting published have this format, rather presenting all your literature reviews, say for example 40-50 literatures in a table format. But this mind maps and concept maps or branching trees are also these days accepted. I hope I answered the question. And ultimately, it's all based on the guidelines of the journal you are trying to get it published. Okay. If it's a dissertation paper you are writing, then you can include everything, all these, then accordingly you will be molding things. As per the journal requirement, you will be molding your paper. Otherwise, making extra all literature review in the form of a table, that's not a good practice. Any further questions? All right, I'm moving further. Somebody kindly confirm whether my screen is visible or not.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
All right, okay. So far we discussed things which you have already done if you are doing your research. Now comes the most important part, findings or the results. So the question comes up, immediately after the data and methodology, are we jumping into the findings and results? This may have in a different name sometimes. This section can be sometimes written as analysis. All right. In fact, what analysis brings is the result. All right. So it can be in the name of analysis. It can be in the name of findings. It can be in the name of the results of your study. All right. So for that, you have to go to the journal author guidelines. Author guidelines will give you the understanding how you should structure it. What are the headings the journal popularly using it? Okay, some journals may use may require the heading findings or may require analysis. Okay, accordingly you will be fitted. Okay, so the question is what all you will be bringing in this particular section: findings or results. Then one more thing you should remember is that, like, there is something called discussions as well. Okay, research paper may also have a subsection called discussions. Then what is the difference in findings and results and discussions? Okay, so understand, in findings or results, you are actually bringing your raw results in it. Okay, for example, the raw data output visualizations, you can include the charts, you can include the result in the form of a tables, you can include the results in the form of the output summary you have derived in R or S data. All these things you will be listing out in your findings or result section. All right, so it can be in the form of a text or graphics and all these things, but you are not doing the discussion on it, meaning that you are not trying to connect it with the literature you have already studied, already reviewed, and there you might have already reached some kind of a perception about this particular issue you are researching on. Those all you are not connecting in here in the findings. Here you are presenting what result you got. Those all you are listing out here. Okay, for example, you wanted to do the VAR model or structural equation model. You have gone through the process, what you have explained here in your methodology part. Those all you have gone through, and the results you derived, all you are listing out here. Okay, then maybe your findings will give you an understanding that, like, whether your hypothesis got accepted or not. If at all you are fixing your hypothesis, by looking at the results, you may able to figure it out whether your hypothesis accepted or not, or rejected. All right, but you are not taking the discussion in it. Okay, the discussion part will come afterwards. I hope this is clear. In the finding or result or analysis section, you are actually bringing your immediate outputs you have derived, or in the methodology, what are design or what are procedure you have suggested here. Those are procedures you have gone through. Okay, maybe if you are doing a qualitative study and a primary research which you have gone through, finding the data from, say for example, 300 participants, you are bringing their demographic profile and some patterns and all these kind of things you will be bringing in your finding or result sections. Okay, then generally a standard papers may also have a discussion session. Sometimes it may not have as well. Okay, it may be a part of sometimes the findings and result, and no separate heading of discussion. But most of the research papers, what I have seen, is also carry something called a discussion session as well. Discussion. Okay, this is what I've been discussing. I've been saying there is a difference between finding and discussions, or results and discussion session. Okay, in the findings or results section, you will be bringing the raw reality here. All right, what happened? What exactly happened based on your study? What you got it? The numbers, the facts, the raw analysis. Those all you will be bringing up here. Okay, here if at all you have a research hypothesis, you have set it, state whether the hypothesis is accepted or rejected. All right, so here you are not actually interpreting your results, you are just presenting your results or your findings. Okay, Then moving further, you can also have something called a discussion session. It's talking about, so what? What do these findings mean? How do you understand whether this finding having any relevance or not? Sometimes you have conducted your research and you got a result which is similar to that of the literature you have reviewed. Then you can bring those idea into here. That's what I said. Sometimes there is no section called literature review in some papers. Instead, they do bring those all in the discussions. Say, for example, you got a particular pattern, say, for example, inequality and some particular caste or a community. Then there are n number of studies which been done and got the similar kind of results for a pattern with respect to age, income gaps, and all these kind of things. Then you can also bring those literature here and you can have a discussion on it. Okay, that's one. Sometimes you got a different pattern which the literature reviewed and they're saying that there is a different pattern existing, but your study is bringing entirely different results. That also will bring something called a discussion. All right. So it can be sometimes generalization, it can be sometimes the principles or theme, or sometimes the anomalies or differences. Okay. Here, what exactly you're doing is you are actually decoding the data. You are decoding the results. Explain why the hypothesis was or wasn't supported based on existing literature. Here, you are bringing the results into the further discussion in such a way that you are connecting back to your literature, connecting back to your theoretical foundations, and you bring your general understanding on why this happened. That is your thought. That you can bring it here, connecting to somebody else have already been written about and some particular pattern they have observed. I hope this is clear to you guys. Don't get confused of so many sections. Okay, sometimes it may club it together. Okay, that will come as analysis. In analysis, what exactly you are doing is that you are bringing your findings or results as well as your discussions as well. Sometimes you may have a different heading, say for example findings, then discussions. Okay, it's up to the journal or the format you follow, but these are the things you should take care when you write about. Okay, in the findings you bring the raw results and you will be presenting the reality, what exactly you got it, whether it's in the form of a qualitative or a quantitative or a mixed method, whatever you have this thing. Okay, there also I have some observations. Sometimes you follow a mixed method. That means you are using the quantitative data, it may be secondary data, say for example, and you have a field data or qualitative data also. It should be in a supportive way. Okay, sometimes you may observe some kind of contradictions also. All right, so you can bring those all in the findings, and in the discussions you can carry it further. Why so? Why that particular pattern? Why some particular aspects are missing in it? All right, why you got that particular kind of result? Okay, so those are sometimes in your discussions you can also bring in, say you have taken something called a time frame. Maybe because of that you got that particular result. So what all you feel, why you got those particular results, how much all you can actually connect it with your literature, with your theory, and the time frame you have taken up, the sample you have taken up. Say you have studied only about say particular stage, then those all things you can bring in your discussion part. Okay, I hope this is also clear to you guys. So discussion is all about transforming the data into meaning. Okay, so you will be finding the what aspect, the objective, the numerical data, state, acceptance or rejection or hypothesis. Then you discuss the why aspect and all these kind of things. And again, the language, I may give some general tips. How do you frame it? The discussion, when you discuss, it is not just you will be writing your random thoughts. Okay, that's what I said. Most of the time, what you can do, better discussion part you can frame, bring more empiricity in your discussions. Okay, it doesn't mean that you fill this with your results and the numbers you got it. It can be in the form of arguments. It can be in the form of facts. It can be in the form of figures. It can be in the form of theoretical understandings. So you have to bring all these things to make sure that what you feel as your result to be more concrete and more reliable and more supportive. All right. So that part is important. So that is actually an art. How do you bring your discussions? You can just say that this is a pattern observed in this particular study, and some vague language. Sometimes the language is very much important. You cannot use the language as you use in your social media to write a research paper. The paper writing is something different skill. All right. The language should that I will give some idea maybe at the last. How do you what kind of language we will be using? It can be so casual language you will be using. Okay. Then to make the sentence more we say that academic rigor or research rigor in the language. Okay, how do you make that language more rigor, research rigor? How do you bring it? Okay, how to do the index citations? So those all mostly comes up in these all parts. Okay, we'll discuss about that. Then these all may be the 6 pillars of the discussion. Your discussion will mostly concentrate on these all aspects. First, about hypothesis check. Okay, that you already got it in your findings. Hypothesis got rejected or accepted. So if it's not hypothesis if there is no hypothesis in your research, if it's all about maybe some particular directions you are actually expecting in your mind, why that's not getting? Why was it supported? It is acceptable. Then if it wasn't, so those all discussions. Then why? It's all about link outcomes back to the background literature and methodology. Then about the limitations, then about the future directions, then about practical applications of, then briefly your discussion will bring what exactly the conclusion of this all about. Okay, it is not in elaborate because the next section is all about your conclusion. All right, so your discussion will bring what you have to communicate. Where else you have written about what you feel? Nowhere, in fact. Nowhere in your introduction, nowhere in your literature review, nowhere in your data and methodology, nowhere even in the findings. This is the section, the discussion section is what you are bringing your thoughts and ideas, you got it from your research into the picture. Okay, so that's what I'm saying, that discussion is something very important. All right, and again, I'm saying you cannot randomly bring your ideas and thoughts. That should be supportive with facts, evidence. There comes the importance of bringing the rigor in your language. Okay, so I hope this part is clear to you guys. Moving further, the conclusion. Okay, so before we move further, so you have done this much part. Just imagine you have already gone through this many sections. You have written an abstract, introduction, literature. Introduction, I said about 10 to 20% will come as introduction part. Then literature. Then you have gone through the data and methodology, results or findings. Then the discussions. How much should be the conclusion? Can you conclude all this much study you have done? Say, for example, 10 pages. You have written all these, and I have seen some students conclude it in just one paragraph, everything. Sometimes it's important a fair share of word limit you are allocating to each section. Okay, so somewhere we have discussed it here. If I'm going back in the abstract, 20%. If it's 250 words you are writing, it's the 20% you will be giving for context and hypothesis, and 20% at the last for discussion and implications. Then in between, a 60% goes to the method and result. Okay, because this is the core of your research. Okay, similar way, when you frame the paper, it is also important how much word limit or words or the space you are providing to each section is also very much important. Okay, so don't conclude maybe in one paragraph. Okay, so what all things should be there in the conclusion? Your conclusion should take up the question, should take up the problem you have studied in your research. That is very much important, because Just imagine you are reading a research paper. So far you have read, discussion also you have read. Then when you conclude, you should remind your reader again what was your research problem. What was your research problem? What was your research question? That you have to remind. Then you have to conclude. Okay. Then in that case, I have put the loop very clear: the final verdict, the practical applications, and the larger context. So there is nothing to write after conclusion. There is nothing to write after conclusion apart from your references. So this is what you will be bringing. You get a time to prove that you have done something substantial. Okay, it's having some practical applications. It's having the scope for further research. Okay, so this is the very good end note you will be writing, conclusion. All right. So then some research may also have something called I forgot this thing. It will mostly come in the form of discussion immediately after that. Policy suggestions. It is depending upon your research. Every question or research problem you are analyzing may not have policy implications. If at all, if you have policy implications, you can bring those policy implications immediately after your discussion section. Okay, immediately after your discussion section. Okay, sometimes students make a big mistake and a blunder. After concluding, they will bring the policy implications. No, conclusion is the end word. You have to bring everything in the conclusion at the last, including your final verdict and its practical applications and the larger context of applicability of your research and what further you can actually do with this particular topic and everything. Okay, so if at all, if you have any kind of policy implications for your research, you bring it immediately after the discussions, rather putting that somewhere else. Okay, so I hope this much is clear to you guys. So we have concluded. Then the last part after conclusion comes references and appendix. Okay, so as we all are social science researchers, we will be following something called APA formatting. Okay, not MLA. We will be following APA formatting. So I will show you where you will find the APA guidelines and all these things. So there are tools and there are softwares even to help you to frame your bibliography or references in APA format. Okay, go through all standard journals will write very clearly what kind of referencing style they follow, and they also will give clear guidelines how you will be put the referencing for if it's a journal research paper you have referred, if at all a book chapter, if it is a report, if it is a newspaper article, or if it's a podcast, like that. They do make various classifications, and in each classification way, what you have referred, how do you put it into the references section? Okay, so they will give a fair understanding of it. Okay, if at all, then I can give you, maybe in the chat box I'll put that APA formatting guideline. We have it. We do follow the 7th edition. Okay, so what all should come in the references? This is also I have observed in students. In the paper, there is nothing called index citation. They have done. If I'm saying the word index citation, how many of you know about this index citations? If I'm moving the slides, say for example, I'm just showing one paper here. This is one paper. See, this is one paper of mine. So here I have put this here, Subramaniam and Joy 2024. This is what we call it index citation. This is called index citation. So these all are index citation where all I have put the author and the year. Okay. So EPW may have a different style of writing index citation. They may not put the comma here. So that you have to follow the journal requirements. So this is what we call it index citations. What all you have put it in the index citations, that only should appear in the references. That only should appear in the references. Okay, I'm repeating it. References is not about what all sometimes the students have 50 references or 60 references they are bringing in a research paper, but nothing is cited in the body of the in your manuscript. Nothing is index cited. Then that is wrong. Technically, what all you have index cited here, say for example, this Subramaniam and Joy and this particular fellow and the work of Gandhi et al. And the work of James et al. These all should appear in your references. These all should appear in your references. For example, this Subramanian I am talking about and Joy. So these all should appear in the references properly. References should contain only those works you have actually cited in the manuscript. Okay, that you should keep in mind. References should match it up with the index citations. So this is something students always do over smart. They do bring all the references, but they do not bring any kind of index citations. And referencing, you can follow this thing. Another thing is all about appendix. What all things you cannot actually these are supporting some data. These are some supporting informations you have actually used in your research, but it doesn't really need to be included in the manuscript or in the body of your research. But somebody wanted to know further about those all things you can bring in something called appendix. Okay. Some journals, very rare in fact, they do ask for all the tables and figures sometimes to bring in the appendix. All right. That's very rare in fact. Okay. But the tables and the figures, those who are including in the manuscript should be properly labeled. It will always label in something called table 1, figure 1 at the top of the figure or top of the table. And one thing most of the students miss is its source. It should have a source. Every table and every figure you are including should have a source at the bottom of the table and the bottom of the figure. Okay. In the table or in the figure, if you want to note down something very particular, when you read the table, somebody who wanted to read the table, somebody who wanted to understand the figure, to give better understanding, then if you want to give some kind of a hints or notes, then that also can include in the note section immediately after the table. Okay, I hope that is clear to you guys. So how do you place it? So this is a common mistake I have observed. Students mostly they do bring the tables and bring the figures, but they do not put the table number and the table title. And if at all, if they have it, table number and figure number and titles, no sources at all. Okay. And again, one more thing, I'm saying this because you guys are final year students. Say for example, you are generating the result in Stata or you are generating the result in R. I have seen many of the times students, they just crop, they do screenshot it or they do crop it and paste it. Okay. So better you make the table yourself and keep it. Okay. Or you have to crop it in a better way. So it shouldn't go in the form of, a table shouldn't be going in the form of an image style. For example, you are giving a paper in the form into EPW, they will ask the table in Excel, very clear. All right. The table in Excel and the figure also in the Excel, how do you derive that Excel format? Okay. So table shouldn't be in the form of a image, JPEG. If you screenshot it, it will come in JPEG format. It shouldn't be in that way. It should be a proper table. And you draw the table in the Word and make the items, values added in it. Okay. So standard journals won't accept the screenshotted or cropped from your econometric softwares. Okay. Just keep this in mind. Then very important thing is all about how do you write. Here comes the aspect of the rigor you are bringing. Okay. The language. So you are not writing, I surveyed 35 participants. I have surveyed 35 participants and got this particular result. No, this shouldn't be the language. In fact, you will be using the language, the survey was administered to 35 participants. You are in fact using a third person a third person voice in your research. Okay. So, and again, the past tense, it's already done, so that you should be using. It's very important. And yes, use for methodology and research you will be using. This has been already been executed, so you will be using a past tense for when you explain your methodology and when you explain your results. But if it's an existing theory, then you will be using the present tense. Okay, this particular theory shows or states that. So because that theory is still existing, so that language is very much important. Then maybe this may be the last tip I wanted to tell you. Final polishing. It should be absolute and concise. Okay. One observation. This I have seen in my students, that like whenever I give CAA research papers and all, they make wonderful CAAs, but it will come up with lot of subsections. Okay, this may not be particular to research paper writing. Maybe your continuous internal assessments, you want to write, say, about the recent budget. Okay, so they will give wonderful papers, but the paper may have 10 subsections in it, meaning the 10 subheadings in it. They easily navigating with the subheading. So why you relying for a subheading is because you are not able to connect one paragraph with the second paragraph you have written. Instead, what you do is that in between the first paragraph and second paragraph, you put a subheading. Then things are easy. You are easily moving to the another one. Okay. So what I'm trying to bring in here is that when you write your research paper, moving from each point to another point, each paragraph to another paragraph, it should follow a flow. That should be a voyage, in fact. How do you get this language and the flow? This is from your literature review. There comes the importance of, honestly, you have to do the literature review. If you rely on AI or if you rely on only the abstract, you don't learn. Okay. I do believe that, when you do the literature review properly, you also will be able to figure it out which journal you can actually target your paper even for publication. For example, you are proudly saying that you have reviewed 50 journals, 50 research papers, or 50 whatever similar works. Then you are technically understanding the language of writing that particular aspect. These days, I am working on economics of aging. I am reading and I'm writing much about the aspects of aging, gender specific, and social protection, social security, and aging. So gradually, I am getting the language how this particular concept is being presented in the literature, presented in the academia. Okay. So then also I am getting to know that there are this particular journal which work in this particular field. So if I am writing about, say, for example, aging and gender, I can potentially target this particular journal for my research paper to get published in the future. So that aspect also you will be able to understand if you do your literature review very properly. So if you honestly reviewed 50 research papers, you are actually learning the language also. So then it won't be a problem for you. Okay, where the students led research is failing is because they mostly go for some kind of a jugaad or a shortcut. They really do not read much. This is not a problem when it comes to the research scholars, because they have, say, for example, 3 years or 5 years time. They may spend at least 1 year to read thoroughly and understand. So gradually they acquire the language, acquire the way of writing. The way of writing, grasping that way of writing requires time, requires some rigorous reading. All right. So if you all invest some good time to read, then definitely you also will write really good. I'll give one tip. EPW. So I have shown you EPW having different sections. which is readily available, is available online. It's for 100% sure that it will be available in your library as well. So please go through that and understand how the commentaries are framed, how the letters to editors are framed. EPW bring maybe one or two special articles, that is a proper research papers in every issue. So understand the language they have used. All right. So how it may not have much of subsections in it. Even if you go to the commentary section, also may not have. But the voyage of informations they are bringing, arguments they are bringing, that's have a very, very unique flow that you have to get it. All right. So then it should be concise. Somewhere you have presented. See, when I'm saying that literature review, a glimpse of it you are actually bringing in the introduction. The same in a detailed way you are bringing it in the literature review. Then you are trying to connect the same in the discussion. Think about if you are repeating the same sentence, it's so boring. So you should learn the art of how you frame it. Okay. So I hope your research guide also will thoroughly read your script once it's drafted. Then they can also help you to cut down. It's always better once you write your research paper, give it to your friends, give it to your teachers to read it. Let 3 or 4 people read it. Then you also will understand where the mistake actually comes up. Otherwise, if you are reading the paper you have already written 10 times, you don't understand sometimes the mistake. Okay, better you give it to someone, only one person. It still give you if at all that friend is really good to understand critically things and comment on, then definitely will give you good feedbacks. And the last one, APA system. We completely adhere to APA in index citations as well as in the referencing. So somewhere, so I may put, you can actually Google search also. These all guidelines are available. APA 7th edition styles. So this will give you clear understanding on how do you include the reference works. If it's a journal paper, research paper, if it's a book, or if it's a documentary, if it's an edited book with DOI, then sometimes some publications will come without any DOI. So how do you, if only one, I'm talking about how do you write this way. This is an APA 7th edition style. So how do you put the citation of it? How also you will be bringing that in the references. So I may give you this also. It's available in the online as well. So this is one. There are many guide books like this. If you will be getting APA style. All right. So index citations and references. Okay. So this is very important. So that's one. Yeah, I think that's it. Now the floor is open for some questions or queries if you have. So I'm happy to take it up if you have any questions. All right, there is one question in the chat box talking about high impact demand a very formal and perfect writing style. But when we write this way, software like Turnitin flags it as AI because the sentences are too structured. How can we keep our professional tone without our original work being wrongly called AI? Okay, fine. If you are really writing after reading and understanding the tone, understanding the concept, completely human, then it shouldn't flag as AI, first of all. All right. But even sometimes what happens is that recently I observed that we are engaging in research with people from different fields. and different institutions. So for convenience, what we do is that we do open one Google Doc. Okay. So whenever I get time, I do feed my aspects, my understandings in that Google Doc. Same is the person, other people also do that. Okay. Then we do frame it, and we have sent it maybe before sending. We do try for this one. We have build software or Turnitin also. Sometimes Authenticate also we use it. So what we have observed is that one or two or three times we do this plagiarism checking or AI checking. Gradually, this part which we have actually written is also captured as AI. Okay, this is something need a special session about how to actually remove much of AI and plagiarism content. Okay, that can be a separate session you can actually hold in your college. Okay, so there are some tools which help you for reducing those all aspects. But it's true that, like, when we try to copy the same kind of a language structure from other journals, maybe you might be really not copying, but you try to write it, it will be flagged as AI, or even the concept which sometimes even flagged as plagiarism. Even I do not have much idea about those all things, but I'm sure about there are people expert in helping us for those all. All right. Someone else also raised the hand. Any further questions? Yes, Aryan.
Yes, sir. So, sir, actually, I wanted to know that what would be or what are the best practices that to ensure our research work remains free from plagiarism, especially when we are using multiple sources.
Yeah. So many people, in fact, we also do, all of us do. In fact, a topic has come up in our mind. What we do is that we will go to Gemini or ChatGPT or any of the AI tools to understand uh, some draft or a nutshell of it. All right. Then we may get the entire paper sometimes getting framed. Then we do some kind of corrections here and there, and we do develop it as a paper. All right. Very few people, in fact, put a lot of effort even after getting the draft through any AI. Then put a lot of effort to make it a human language. Okay, there comes more effort, in fact. What I suggest to you guys, I don't say that don't completely rely on AI or don't completely use AI and all these kind of things. In fact, you can use AI to get the draft of the paper, in fact, the framework of the paper. Then I told you about something called literature review. How do you frame, how do you subcategorize, say, 50 or 60 literature you have reviewed? Okay, how do you identify, say, for example, a particular topic you have given, you got it for research. What are the various aspects of that particular topic? For example, inequality. What are the various aspects of it which help you to sub-categorize the existing literature into various groups? All right. There are tools. For example, if you go to the Scopus website, I hope you guys know something called the Scopus website. Scopus.
Yes, sir.
So there is something called the Scopus AI. Have you observed? There is something called the Scopus AI. If you go to the website, you can see something called the Scopus AI. In that Scopus AI, if you give the topic there, then Scopus AI will help you to filter out. One second, I just opened the web page. I'm just sharing the screen. it's visible now. Is it visible, Scopus website?
Yes, sir.
All right, okay. So I'm referring to this one, Scopus AI. So if you press here, Scopus AI, and if you give what all topics you want to, any particular topic of, for example, aging and social security. So I'm just giving it as a deep search here, and it may take some time because what exactly this do is that it will go through all the Scopus indexed research papers. Okay, this is something I wanted to tell you also. What all papers actually you can include in the literature review? There are so many papers getting published. Some are not even done a fair peer review. Okay, so there are a lot of journals which are not even authenticate, not even authentic, not even actually peer reviewed, not even indexed. So better you can avoid those all and can bring some standard publications or standard research journals in your index citations and in your literature review and in your references. Okay, this will help you to understand with respect to that particular topic you have typed here, what all existing Scopus indexed research papers which published in Scopus indexed journals, you will get some glimpses of it with subgroups, with various groupings. Okay, it may take some time because it's going to the deep search. Let's wait for it, how the result will appear. All right. So this will give various subgroups, and with respect to each subgroups to the particular theme we have given, how many Scopus indexed papers are there, and it will give some kind of a glimpse of the idea, and any further research on that particular theme is required. Those all hints this Scopus AI will give you. All right. Let's hold on for some time. Yeah. So, for example, I have given the topic aging and social security systems. Okay. So, what they have done is that they have done the thematic classification of this particular topic. The themes they have identified are demographic pressures, policy reform